Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I get a little stage fright whenever I hit record and I have to start talking in this microphone for this podcast. Because normally I'm not the only one in the house when I record. There's always somebody in a different room. And for some reason, I've been doing this for many years, and I always get a little stage fright, or a little like, I don't want to be heard by anybody else while I record. Even though I publish this every week, and millions of people have the option to listen and can listen, I still get a little stage fright. I'll be honest with you. When I hit record and when I'm actually doing the deed of recording the podcast. I think that's like something that has been with me for a long time. Now, I was not somebody who was on stage a lot when I was growing up, right? I was in band for 4 years in high school, right? So naturally, I did perform a few times throughout a year in school on a stage, but never really I was always with a group of people, like an orchestra-sized group of people. So it was never really something that I had to worry about because there was no way that many people were going to be focusing on me when it's like you're in a giant group of people, and usually the trumpet players were like more in the back of the band, and I was nowhere to be seen really up in the front either. So it all kind of worked out, right? I didn't really know how stage fright I was though until years prior to that. I was in junior high, 7th grade, and it was, I believe, fall time, and the new year had just begun. And there was auditions for a play that we were going to do in junior high. And it was Romeo and Juliet. And one of my friends said that they were going to do it. And I was like, hey, I want to do it with you because you're my friend. Why don't we audition together? Now, I didn't say that, he did. And I was like, hey, that's a great idea. I'll try it out. Why not? It could be something fun. It could be cool. It could bring in, I could become an actor. I could, take the first steps in becoming like the next new Will Smith, the next Brad Pitt. It could be something that I could run with. What if I'm actually pretty good at acting? And I actually am good. What if I actually land the part of Romeo and Juliet, of Romeo in Romeo and Juliet, right? That could be awesome. So I tried it. I auditioned for Romeo. Terrible. Was nervous the entire time. I just said my lines. I did not act them at all. I read them off of the piece of paper. Didn't make any eye contact with Juliet. Nothing. Didn't try to please the director in any way. Didn't put any charisma into it, any type of pizzazz, any flair, anything in it. I don't even remember the lines that I had to say, but I know it was terrible. For some reason that memory popped into my head, and I was like, wow, I actually did that. I auditioned for a play as Romeo in Romeo and Juliet. Surprisingly, did not get it. I don't know who did. I can't remember who did, but I'm pretty sure that they were a lot better than I was. At least I hope that they were, because if I did not get it, somebody at a much more higher caliber of acting had to have gotten it. But I think it was also because I had stage fright. Because, I mean, even though it was just like a small group of people and, we were auditioning in front of the entire class that was going to try out for the play, still kind of scary, And I don't remember if it was like going to be like there was like two versions, right? Like an 8th grade version and a 7th grade version. From what I could remember, all the people that were in the auditioning room after school were seventh graders, people in my grade. So I'm not too sure exactly how that school did it. I'd have to ask some classmates if they remember, but I doubt that they would. But that's when I first, had experience or figured it out the hard way that I did have stage fright. I maybe not necessarily stage fright, but I don't like when the all eyes are on me per se. It's a little tough. It's a little nerve wracking, which I think is a natural reaction to that. I think it is kind of hard naturally for human beings to speak up in a room of people where everybody's looking at you and focusing on you, because I think naturally, like, most of us don't really like when all eyes are on us. It's a little strange. We kind of like want to try to make eye contact and like connect with everybody that is looking at us, but it's like almost impossible to do. No matter how hard you actually try, it's hard to do in that situation. I think now that I'm older and much more mature and much more I have much more, like, I don't take myself as seriously as I think I used to when I was younger. I kind of like to mock myself a little bit because I know that I am not a perfect man, nor is anybody a perfect person, but I do kind of have the humility that I can laugh at myself because I'm not always perfect. And I know that I am kind of, in a way, my imperfections kind of make it a little funny. I'm not going to lie. I do get made fun of quite a bit from time to time. And there is no part of me that's like, yo, I'm not funny. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, yes, there is. There's like totally so much wrong with me. I am not a perfect human being. And I don't plan to be anytime soon. I don't think anybody has a plan to be a perfect human being. I think it's impossible. I'll be honest. But I do think that now I have like a little bit more of a, like, I guess you can say it's just like more of not like doesn't care vibe, but like is like not as hyper fixated on perfection, which is something that a lot of people kind of need in this world, especially when it comes to their jobs or their profession, because you cannot be perfect at all times. It's virtually impossible. And I think the sooner that we are able to understand that in our jobs and our professions, and even sometimes just like, regular day things like, hey, you're just not going to be perfect for everybody. It kind of relaxes you. It makes you like, you don't really have to, stress out that much. I wish I knew that when I was younger. Man, when I was young, I was trying to be a people pleaser, perfect, smart at good at everything. I always tried to be on the level of like the best student in class, which ultimately led to my downfall. Is when you try too hard and you fail harder at the thing that you're trying really hard at. Like trying to be a good public speaker, trying to be a good speech giver in junior high and high school resulted in, for me, a lot of stuttering, a lot of mispronunciation, a lot of voice cracks. And if I had not tried so hard, it probably would have been a lot more unique, different, and just like I try to be like too perfect at what I did. And presentation wise, either I was just, all over the place, which I've been before. I've had a couple speeches when I was a young man in college, taking courses on public speaking because I needed to for, I think it might have been an elective or something like that, and just being all over the place and not having a structure. Maybe it could have been because of procrastination, just because, I was a procrastinator back then, still kind of am today, I'll be honest with you. But the lack of, being ready, the lack of preparation, that all kind of, you know, I guess in a way, fuels that. It's not the best word to say for it, but it all kind of like leads into, a sloppy speech, which, you don't want to have when you're that young and you have to do speeches for a grade in the class. And I will tell you this, though, I'd rather do a speech in a class than like take a test. I mean, especially like if it was a test like that was not about history. I could not do well at that at all. I'm not a math guy. I'm not a science guy. Even though I would like to know more about math and science and how that works, not interested one bit in that stuff. Not at all. I don't have an interest in equations or shapes or numbers, really. I think that's all very boring. Like once 1 plus 1 is 2, I'm good at that. I'm solid. 2 plus 2 is 4. Great. I'm a genius. The Pythagorean theorem, once that is introduced and you got numbers and letters and negatives and decimals and fractions yeah, no, I mean, like, I could probably like relearn it if I was forced to do that, but like I would not have enjoyment whatsoever. Numbers to me just bore me. Even though like math and like science is like the building blocks of like how we make things today. Like, I mean, we could not make this shelf right here, right? These shelves that we put books, pictures on, clothes, statues. You couldn't build this without mathematics, without like geometry and knowing how things work and how, how you build things, and without like the proper engineering and how to, construct something like this and measurements and angles and right and stuff like that. We couldn't make things like this. We couldn't make things that work too like this. It would be absolute madness. We could not survive as a species like this. We couldn't build a bridge without math. We couldn't build like a building without geometry. That's all needed. It's just not my thing. Like, I could not be an engineer. I couldn't do it. Like, maybe if it was like an engineer like on a train, maybe. Aren't those like the train drivers? Aren't they called like railroad engineers? Like, I could probably be that guy, but I couldn't be like a building engineer or like a city engineer or a civil engineer. Like, I couldn't do that. I always like wanted to know like what those guys did that made them so much money. Is it just like building and constructing city plans and making it so like parking lots are big enough to, commodate like this many cars? Is it so like the freeways and the highways have this many lanes? That way it's able to fit the max amount of cars, and that we don't need to, that it's like comfortable for like many cars to pass through on a freeway. Is that what a civil engineer does? Or is it like to make sure like a bridge is constructed high enough that way semis can go underneath it with ease and just like there's no issue whatsoever? Like, I never really understood like what an engineer did. It was just a very broad profession of like what exactly an engineer did. And I remember like when you were like in junior high and even high school, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? All the smart kids knew what they wanted to be. Someone wanted to be a medical doctor, a lawyer, a biologist. Hell, she was so specific. She wanted to be a marine biologist. Yeah, she wanted to study fish. I don't even know how you even get to that profession in high school. How do you know that you want to be that if you've never like, did you have a goldfish? Do you have like a lot of like pet fish? You're like, hey, I like this. I want to be a marine biologist. Or have you been to the beach enough and you've seen like, oh, look at these sea otters or these sharks, these dolphins. Like, I want to do something with that. maybe that is a way, that they figure out that they want to do that. Like, how does someone know exactly what they want to be at that young of an age? I mean, I don't remember thinking I knew what I wanted to be at that point. The part of me like also wanted to become a teacher, like in early college. Like, I don't know why. I guess because like I was interested in history and stuff like that. Like, I still am. I love history. History's like that is more than a hobby to me. It's so important to know history and know what happened before your time, and to know how that can possibly impact the future of not only you but mankind itself. It's very important to know that stuff. But yeah, she wanted to be a marine biologist back then. I should ask her if she ever did that. I don't know if she did or not. I think I might have her on social media, but I don't want to come across as like, hey, I remember you in high school, you wanted to become a marine biologist. Are you? Like, did you succeed? Probably, but also probably not, Life works in mysterious ways. You don't always be, are going to be the thing that you set out to be. Unless you truly, truly want that and you love it that much, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I mean, hey, if you want to be a lawyer by the age of like 17 in high school, heck, and you still want to be a lawyer and you achieve becoming a lawyer, that's freaking awesome, dude. That's freaking tight. You probably are going to be the best lawyer ever. If you wanted to be it at that young of an age, you're like, hey, I want to be the biggest pest in the world. And I want to make money doing it. And I want to do this for the rest of my life. At a very young age, like in high school, like trying to figure out like what you want to do in your life. If you have all that sorted away, figured it out, and you stick to it, and you commit, and you actually achieve it, hey, dude, bravo on you. And you actually have a real full-time paying job, not like these phony-ass jobs, not like an influencer or a Twitch streamer, like a real clock in, clock out job with a salary. Whew, that's badass, dude. That rocks. That's old school. I like that. There's a lot of people out there that don't have actual jobs. It's kind of weird, Some of them have like, I've seen on Instagram and social media, they have like side gigs to what they actually do. Like, they have a real job and then they have a side gig of like, I would assume is like something like they maybe want to do in the future, and be like, that it be their like their actual career. But hey, that would be tough to do that. It's mainly with women. They have like these side jobs that are like, totally something that they would do and on the side, and they're good at it, and they could potentially make it a business out of themselves. You see a lot of it with like nails and eyelashes and like beauty based stuff, hair, right? That to me is really like smart in a way. Like, men, we don't do that. We don't do that at all. There's not a lot of things that men do as a side hustle, secondary to their actual, 9-to-5 job. We don't really do that kind of stuff. We, like, men's hobbies are very, very, like, non-profit. You think about it, like girls doing nails, doing hair, doing eyebrows and eyelashes. That is all business, like a gateway to business, right? You can do that for other ladies and get paid to do that. That's very smart, tremendously smart. Men, our hobbies are very much, centered around us, and like nobody would pay a dime for us to do that to them, right? Like, I like to read books. I'm reading a book right now in my spare time as a hobby, right? No one's going to want to pay me to read them a book, or maybe read them a synopsis of a book, or give them cliff notes, maybe. But like, it's not as common as getting your hair done, nails done, eyelashes, eyebrows done, right? Like, that is not something that another dude is gonna or anybody's gonna pay me to do, right? Hair, very different, very different. And a lot of men, right, that are like into hair and styling hair, right, barbers, they make that their full-time job. They're not gonna want to work at like an office and then come home and cut a few heads of hair. That's just not gonna happen. We don't have the same work ethic after work as women do. We just don't. Once we're done with our job for the day, we're done. Right? We're gonna go crack a cold one with the boys. We're gonna watch the game. Right? We're gonna go. We're probably gonna take a nap. We're not gonna, open up the salon and taking clients for hair. Right? It's just not gonna happen. We're not wired that way. We give it our all those 8 hours of the day, and then we're done. We can't do that. Like I mean, another hobby I have is playing video games, right? I don't play them as often as I used to, but like that's a hobby of mine. But I'm not gonna make that into a part-time job. I mean, I just don't have the time for that. I don't want to. I don't have the energy to do that. I really do appreciate how these ladies out there that have their side businesses are able to make another side income, whether it be beauty, hair, whatever it is. Like, that's pretty awesome. I wish I had something like that I was good at to do like a side job. I guess a podcast is kind of a side job, even though I don't get paid for it. But, hey, you never know. What if one day I do get paid for it? And that would be my side job. That'd be pretty sick. I think that would be awesome. This is kind of something that is not like like a hair salonist is a need in society. We have a lot of them, but like you could always use more because there's so many people out there. People who like to get their hair done a certain way. Some clients leave others for other people. You're fed up with the way this lady's doing their hair. You're like, what? I need some other lady, somebody else. Someone else can do my nails. Someone can do my eyebrows. I need multiple people to do, different things. That is the market for that is extremely high in society, right? There only becomes like one person that you really trust in that situation, right? Kind of like a podcast. It's hard to have multiple podcasts that are similar in their range of topics. If you know anything about podcasts, they're very popular. They're probably like one of the most like daily consumed audio mediums, like the most like daily consumed thing by multiple people, throughout the day. Like they're probably more consumed than like television shows at this time, probably because of how easy they are to listen to. You don't really need to watch them. You just kind of have to listen. And let's say like you're on a walk, right? Walking outside, walking on a treadmill. You're probably not going to watch a TV show, but you're probably going to listen to a podcast. It's much more an efficient way to, use your time to get in a workout, to listen to a podcast, right? Now, me personally, when I work out, I listen to music because I kind of need that extra fuel to the fire when I'm doing cardio that, just kind of pushes me over the edge to complete that workout. A podcast just doesn't work for me, but it does work for some people, right? And they're just, very, very, very popular right now, and it seems like there's so many podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts out there, including myself. I have a podcast, not a lot of people can say that. A lot can, but not everybody, right? I do have a podcast. And most recently, last week, the great magazine known as Time released their top 100 podcasts to listen to. And I, being a podcaster, somebody who does contribute to the medium weekly, passionately, with care, I know what I am as a podcast. I am a single man podcast. I don't have a audience. I don't have a co-host. I don't have a producer. I don't have guests. It is all me. Me, myself, and I. That is my podcast. That is me. And me and my thoughts and what I have to say. That is it. And recently, Time had released an article of their top 100 podcasts. And I just thought that it would be, a good thing that we can do together as a podcast, me and the wonderful listeners of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva, to go through what is, according to Time Magazine, the 100 best podcasts of all time. And their description of this is the most innovative, influential, and informative listens in the history of the medium. These podcasts reflect the depth, breadth, and possibility of the medium at its best. All right, so now before I actually dive into what, how they chose, or actually, not before that, what the top 100 podcasts that they, chose for this article, I'm going to read a little bit of how they chose the 100 best podcasts of all time. So this is by Elena Doctorman, a correspondent at Time Magazine who I guess was assigned to pick the 100 podcasts. So she writes, "You're folding laundry, or going for a run, or prepping your kids' lunch boxes, and you need something in your earbuds. Maybe you want to catch up on the latest news, or hear the hottest take on last night's game. Maybe you're eager to hear a film critic tell you what's worth streaming this weekend, or listen to a celebrity interview that'll make you laugh or inspire a cathartic cry." I don't know what that is. Maybe you want to play detective in a true crime mystery. If you've ever stared blankly at Spotify or YouTube wondering what to press play on, there is something for you in this list of the 100 best podcasts ever made. Reviewing the nearly decade's worth of best of lists I've compiled since I started on the podcast beat, laid bare just now just how much the medium has changed. Once upon a time, you didn't have to be a A-lister with a professional studio set up to find overnight fame. The likes of Roman Mars, Mike Duncan, Sarah Marshall, and Michael Hobbs, Shikesh Haraway, and Phoebe Judge all became famous names in the podcast space without the boost of a Hollywood career. Between the mid-2000s and the mid-2010s, all you needed was a microphone and a dream of cutting an ad deal with MailChimp. That low barrier to entry eventually led to the podcasting boom in the late 2010s that accelerated when so many of us were stuck at home during the COVID-19 lockdowns and desperate to consume as much content as possible to stave off boredom and loneliness. No longer are podcast hosts just disembodied voices in a void. YouTube, the world's largest video platform, now claims it's also the world's largest podcasting platform, with 1 billion monthly viewers of podcasting content worldwide. As Vulture recently noted, publications like the New York Times are pushing their writers and podcasters to put their faces on camera as the way we consume news and other content evolves on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. With the change in medium has come a shift in focus. Major podcast producers have largely abandoned in-depth investigative reporting and quirky comedic voices in favor of buzzy names. This includes former upstarts like Alexandra Cooper. Sirius XM paid $125 million in 2025 for her Unwell podcast network. And Bill Simmons, Spotify acquired The Ringer for a reported $250 million in 2020. But more often, they cut deals with previous established celebrities like the smartless actors or retired athletes like LeBron James. LeBron James is not retired. So that's That's a shame time. Not to mention former royals and first ladies. But not every famous person is good at podcasting. There's a reason the late night gig is so tough. Much of collating this list when it came to this particular breed of pod involves sorting out who can conduct an insightful interview or piece together a compelling monologue from who is just a big name. Let's see. That said, we talk a lot at time about influence. We do publish an annual list of 100 most influential people in the world. After all, and that list increasingly includes podcasters. The legacy of shows ranging from Serial to Dope Queens to WTF with Mark Maron that pioneered their respective genres, and set the course of what would follow. Factored heavily in the process. Serial helped spur the true crime wave and the many ethical quandaries that came with it. Two Dope Queens represented an era where relatively unknown comedians could land an HBO special. Remember when Maron got then President Barack Obama on WTF, and it was a huge deal? Trump doesn't make the rounds on the manosphere, and Kamala Harris doesn't appear on Call Her Daddy had Obama not graced the Mark Maron's garage. So essentially what it's saying is that we wouldn't have gotten Trump on the manosphere, I don't know what that means, and Harris not on Call Her Daddy if Obama didn't first go on Maron's podcast. So kind of the building blocks, and if this didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen. Manosphere. I've never heard of that before. Oh well. So this is the last paragraph of the how they consider what is the best 100 podcasts. So I included some shows that have ended their runs. I tried to pick podcasts that, if not entirely evergreen, have a hefty archive that can be revisited, series that crack jokes that haven't gotten old, or covered books and movies you can still read and watch before tuning into a specific episode that will help you appreciate them more fully. With this list, I endeavored to find the best of the best database you can sort through by genre. Much ink has been spilled over the years about the parasocial relationships we form with podcast hosts, and yes, while it's wise not to get too attached to a stranger, I certainly think of my favorite hosts as imagined buddies and get to visit with each week. I hope you can find new friends too. I think that she's right about that though. When you listen to a podcast, you kind of at least think of the person, the host, the people that do the show, almost like a friend. It's weird. I know it's I don't find Joe Rogan my friend, but I'm hey, what's my guy got to say about this? Or, the part of my take guys, what do they have to say about this thing in sports? I'm interested. I'm invested, something like that. I don't think of him as my friend, but hey, I want to know what these guys think of this topic in particular. It just kind of, you build that rapport with somebody without even knowing, really knowing who they are, which is interesting about podcasts and how us as human beings, how we kind of attach ourselves to people we've never even met before, but we think that, we've heard enough what they have to say, hours worth, sometimes days worth of content in their voice and what they stand on things. And we're like, you know what? I could definitely hang out with this dude. This guy's kind of like my friend, or he would be my friend in real life if we ever met, Interesting. So without further ado, let's actually go through the list of these top 100 podcasts of all time. Not in any particular order, but let's go through them. Two Dope Queens. Never heard of it. It's about unfiltered conversations. It looks like a comedy podcast, which I would like. Comedy fiction. For nearly 3 years in the late 2010s, BFF comedians Phoebe Robinson and Jessica Williams hosted Two Dope Queens, the Webby Award-winning comedy podcast produced by WNYC Studios that tackled subjects like race, gender, and sex in hilarious ways. Okay. As long as it's hilarious, I'd listen to this for sure. Of course, I've never heard of it. Don't know why, but I've never heard of it. Let's move on. 30 for 30. That is a sports show. And that was an actual show before it became looks like a podcast. So, I mean, I've seen it before. That's not my favorite thing. I honestly think that there's a lot more better sports podcasts out there. But, I guess these guys know what they're talking about, I guess. 99% Invisible, Understanding Our Surroundings. Don't know what this is at all. Let me see. The landscape of a major U.S. city, small town, or palm tree patch, and it's very likely that Roman Mars has dedicated a narrative podcast episode to its peculiarities. Nearly 15 years since launching a podcast, explore the hidden design spaces and buildings that shape our lives and inform us about our surroundings. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see, which ones jump out at me that I could see, like, you know what, this could be maybe one that, deserves to be on this list. Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. I remember when this guy, was an actor, primarily. He might have been, like, one of the first ones to get, like, a, like, really big recognition because he did a podcast. It's according to this lady, it's a therapeutic podcast hosted by famous people and should inspire a healthy degree of skepticism. The best actors don't always make the best interviewers, and celebrities sharing anecdotes about their privilege can quickly get irksome. Cool word. But Dax Shepard has, as they say, done the work. He's open about his experiences with sobriety, abuse, and unafraid to pivot conversations about the perks of being famous into discussions about many of his guests' rocky relationships and with fame. Okay, I mean, like, I never heard his podcast ever. I'll be honest. I think I saw it like maybe one time on like the top 10 or something like that back in the day. Never clicked on it. Had not really been interested in that guy. I guess, he's one of like the ones that kind of like put like podcasts on the map, I guess you could say. Like maybe not like the Godfather of podcasts, but like one of the ones that, is going to have like a lot of people, like, a lot of legacy listeners that, he was like one of the main ones back in the day. So let's see, any more that I've heard of. Big Picture, never heard of that one. Bill Simmons podcast I listened to a few times. Bill Simmons was a guy that, if you guys remember, was on ESPN quite a lot back in like the 2010s, mid 2010s, early 2010s, and even before that, I believe. He was on NBA Countdown on ESPN before the NBA games, and was like on the panel with Bill Simmons, Michael Wilbon, Magic Johnson, and Jalen Rose for like the NBA games. And I gotta tell you, man, like that was nowhere near as good as the TNT crew, with Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, Ernie Johnson, and Shaq. But like those guys on the ESPN side, like I just said, Bill Simmons, Jalen Rose, Magic Johnson, and Michael Wilbon were so good back then. They were so much better than what they have now on ESPN. But he was always one of the guys that, was able to articulate his point on sports and teams, particularly in the NBA and the Celtics, very well. And that made me kind of like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He might be full of shit, but at least he sounds like he knows exactly what he's talking about when he's making these points. And you can just see like his passion for his Celtics, and like that is like so kind of needed in those type of like panels, especially when like you're going up against like Magic Johnson and Jalen Rose, who all played basketball in the NBA. Michael Wilbon is a Chicago guy, so like I always enjoyed like their chemistry with each other, and how like they were able to make talk in the NBA like it was like a privilege to hear like what they had to say, and you wanted to hear what Michael said, and you wanted to hear what Magic Johnson said, and Jalen Rose said, and even Bill Simmons. Like, it was a great show back then. So I can see how, like, somebody like Bill Simmons, who's a very effective communicator, and somebody who's very good at, getting to his point, and has, built up an audience, obviously, of where people want to hear his opinion on things, including myself. I think that it's just I could see how his podcast is on there for sure. Moving down the list, I mean, there's a lot that I haven't heard. Like, I have not heard Binge Mode, Blank Check with Griffin and Dave. I haven't heard that one at all. Bodega Boys, never heard of that. Bodies, haven't heard of that. Call Her Daddy, I heard of a long time ago. I remember they used to be with Barstool Sports, and they were one of the bigger podcasts on that network and from that company. And then she had left that company with her and left her co-host, then went to Spotify, now is on Sirius XM, and she's still doing very well. I mean, I don't really know what her show is about. Let me see what this let me see what it's what if there's a description of her show here. Okay, Call Her Daddy, it has evolved from a raunchy sex and dating advice show to a deep diving celebrity interview format. Wow, so she just made a full-on pivot from what she was doing to now. Like, it was about sex and dating, and now it's about celebrity interviews. I mean, something had to change, right? When she got Kamala Harris on her show, I knew it had to have been like a completely different show by that time. It could not have been what it was then, because I do remember it was mainly centric around dating and sex and all that. And I'm not sure when exactly it pivoted. Maybe when it was bought by Spotify, maybe when it was bought by Sirius, I don't know, but like there was a pivot for sure. She kind of had to clean up her act a little bit. Not because, I don't think she was forced to. I think that she just kind of decided to, because she became, these other companies gave her so much money. And like, she was like, well, I mean, I guess I got to make my show a little bit more, not like, I wouldn't say like, not for mature audiences, but a little bit more mainstream, I would assume. I mean, hey, she had the former vice president on her show. She probably thought that she would probably want to clean up her act a little bit, or maybe seem a little bit more professional. At least I would. Hey, if I had my show right now, the show that I have right now, which is just complete nonsense, stupidity in a 1 hour time frame, right? I would try to at least smarten up a little bit if I was to get the president on, or a very important person on the show, or even like someone who I respect dearly. Like, if I were to have my dad on my show, right, I would probably start to sound more professional than I do right now, just because like I would not want him to be aligned with the frame of work of my stupidity on what I spew out every podcast. Like, do you think that I honestly want him to know my thoughts are on aliens and pyramids and dinosaurs and stupid crap and about video games? No, I probably would be like, in this edition of the Business Journal, companies are adapting to new ways to increase sales. Like, I would hella try to professionalize myself up. Like, I would try my hardest to do that, So, hey, it's kind of natural, right? You wouldn't want to appear stupid if you're trying to show off, right? We don't do that. I guess, I'm not trying to show off for anybody. I'm just, I'm just myself. But I don't know. I guess you would kind of want to make yourself seem a little bit more like put together, a little bit more professional in a way. There's a point in time when you are an adult where you kind of need to clean up your act a little bit. The immaturity thing kind of wears off a little bit. That, like, immature vibe becomes a little bit more taxing on other people's, or you feel like it's a little bit more taxing on how people view you. And you want to just clean up your act a little bit. At least that's how I feel. So I kind of understand how Miss Cooper would change up her show a little bit. Let's see, what other ones here that I've heard of? Cocaine and Rhinestones, never heard of that one. Code Switch, never heard of that one. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, I've heard of that one. I've never listened to it. Conan O'Brien's a very funny guy. I've seen his segments when he had his show on TBS. Very funny. Never really heard his podcast, though. Criminal, never heard of. The Daily, never heard of. Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I've heard of this one. And I've been meaning to listen to it because I love history. I really do. And I think that this would be something that I would that I could easily get sucked into. It's just I'm afraid to, because I know if I start, I won't want to put it down, Let's see. Any more that I've just heard of or know about? The Dropout, Ear Hustle, Embedded, Everything is Alive, The Ezra Klein Show, Fiasco. I heard of none of these. Fresh Air, Gilmore Guys, nope. Good Hang with Amy Poehler, that could be a fun one. It's tagline Sunny Celebrity Interviews. I'm guessing it's like more of a fun, uplifting interview type show. Sounds like a good one. I mean, I haven't seen much of Amy Poehler in like acting roles since like the end of Parks and Recreation. So I don't know. I don't really know what she's been doing. I'm guessing the podcast. Heavyweight, Home Cooking, Homecoming, In Our Time, In the Dark. Haven't heard of any of those. The Last Days of August. I don't know what that is either. Long Form, Making Oprah. The Memory Palace. Men in Blazers. I heard of that one about soccer, right? Yeah, I remember like these guys were promoted on like Fox Sports and ESPN back in the day when the World Cup was happening around the U.S. Yeah, I see. During the years of the World Cup final between France and Italy in 2010. Yep, I remember these guys. They were on YouTube and they were on ESPN back then. I've heard of those guys before. Missing Richard Simmons, never heard of that one. Moonface, More Perfect. My Dad Wrote a Porno, don't know what that is at all. Nancy. New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce. That one has been making not as much headlines as it would be in the football season, but during football season, man, that one is busting up and getting views and clipped out left and right. That one is a very popular podcast, I will say. I've heard it a few times, a few clips, never like a full episode. It's pretty good. I mean, like they could at least, carry a show. They're not like big dumb idiots. They're smart guys. I mean, they're the Kelce brothers, so like they bring another like two different factors of like interest, right? One is in the NFL, one is not, right? One is dating Taylor Swift, one is a family man. So like, a family man with like kids and a wife, right? Like, there's totally different angles of like how that could be a very impactful podcast and get a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners from like different walks of life. So, I can see how their podcast for sure is one of the best and most like influential ones that are out there right now, for sure. Pivot. I think that's Ryan Clark's podcast. Oh no, that's not him. It's somebody else. Plain English with Derek Thompson. Never heard of it. Planet Money. The Prince. The Promise. Radiolab. Reply All. I don't Revisionist history, nope. Revolutions, rewatchables, S Town, search engine, serial. I mean, a lot of these I have not heard of, I'll be honest. Sporkful, still processing. The tennis podcast. What a name for that one. Just the tennis podcast. This American Life, Throughline, Uncivil. Where should we begin? WTF with Mark Maron. You didn't see nothing. You're wrong about. That's a good name for one. You must remember this. That's a good name. Yeah, a lot of them I haven't heard of. I'll be completely honest with you. Obviously, the few that I did hear, I've known of them. I see why, they're very impactful. But for the majority, didn't really know much about them. I'll be honest. Joe Rogan Experience wasn't there. I mean, honestly, the biggest podcast out for the past 6 or 7 years is not even on there. That to me is kind of wild. I'll be honest. I mean, you don't have to like the guy, but you gotta admit, the conversations that he has on his show is pretty, vast. He's had politicians the president Donald Trump. He's had Bernie Sanders. He's had actors like Josh Brolin. He's had Jeremy Renner. He's had UFC fighters, boxers. He's had football players, other comedians, authors, doctors, writers, journalists. He's had so many people on his show. The fact that that's not even in that list is kind of wild to me. Doesn't really make any sense. He doesn't have this list also did not have the best sports podcast out there, part of my take, which is wild. I mean, if you go on right now, I'm just going to go to Apple Podcasts because I'm biased, and that's what I use for my podcasting. You go to Browse, and you go to Top Shows right now. Joe Rogan is right now number 3. Hey, look at that. Good Hang is number 5. The Daily is number 6. Call Her Daddy, number 19. This past weekend with Theo Vaughn is 25. Smartless is 27. Part of My Take is number 30. So, there's a lot that, I think that was left out. I'll be honest with you. Let me see. Top episodes right now, right? The Daily has 2 in the top 3. Murdered, Kristen David is number 2. Number 4 is the most recent episode of Part of My Take. Number 8 is the most recent episode with of the Joe Rogan Experience. So hey man, numbers don't lie, right? I mean, I feel a lot of these shows that was on this list were not but at least the top ones. I know this article came out a couple days ago. I want to say maybe last week. If I can see when it was published. I think it was, or when was it published? July 23rd, 2025. So about a week ago, So I mean, there was a lot of time to put together this list. I just feel some pretty big shows were left out. I'll be honest. All right, moving on to something a little bit more my speed, my style. Video games. I'm a big video game guy whenever I have a chance to actually play them. Battlefield 6 has been revealed to the world. The reveal trailer came out. And the game looks really good. Fantastic. Destruction is on point. If you've played Battlefield, you know that Battlefield has a game experience that is pretty much unmatched by any other game. Right? Battlefield to me has always been able to convey all out big scoping, big, massive, sandboxy warfare that Call of Duty could never imagine doing, in the way that Battlefield does, and the way that Battlefield has been able to do for many, many years on a pretty consistent basis. You know, regardless what you think of the games themselves, like the eras that they chose or how they chose to tackle those eras of warfare, they always still manage to do a really good job with conveying that this is an all-out war between two, forces that I think is really, really good to see, and is something that, is not achievable by a lot of games out there. Like, for some reason, Battlefield just knows how to do it well, and they consistently do it pretty much every game that they put out, right? And we didn't really see any real snippets of really gameplay in this reveal trailer, but we can see that it looks like they are going to modern warfare time period, which is like, today's war, right? Today's combat, which is something that I think that is, coming from Battlefield 2042, which was the near future, which, still kind of seemed a little more modern, not like too futuristic where like you're running on walls and stuff like that. But this one is just like more like, it's like more grittier, more realistic, a little bit more, a little bit more to it. It's not as polished. Because 2042, that game, for some reason, like they went with like a very clean aesthetic, where like the maps weren't like super, war torn. It wasn't like, the maps were, had like big skyscrapers. You were clearly like fighting in like futuristic type cities with like gigantic freaking super mega tall skyscrapers. The maps weren't like super worn down. It was kind of like a little too pretty in some areas. A lot of maps were just like not very good. The whole operator system where like, there was essentially like no classes for a while, and you just kind of went with operators and like played with their strengths, and like there was kind of like almost like a hero shooter operators in a Battlefield game. And it just kind of felt like it was that part was just kind of misplaced and should not have been in the game in the first place. This one, it seems like it's going back to its roots, class based combat, class based gameplay. And I just gotta say, man, we live in a world right now, right? It's not a great world, in terms of video games. I mean, we got Fortnite still existing, putting in crap in that no one seems to give a damn about. And we got on the other side of the court Call of Duty, that is trying to imitate Fortnite so badly, just trying to be them. I mean, like their most like recent collaboration, big collaboration, was you can be Beavis or Butthead in Call of Duty. Like those are skins for your operators. I mean, like that to me was like, wow. Like, I mean, they had done some far bad ones before, like, but this might have been like, nah. Like you can't continue to get away with this. Like, this has got to stop. I mean, you can't keep doing this. Like, there just comes a point in, as somebody who has played these games for a very long time and is now at the age of 31, where you look at this and you just kind of question, like, why would they go with this route? Why would they make it so you can play as, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? You can play as a Terminator. You can play as Beavis and Butthead. You can play as Cheech and Chong. You can play as, I'm not even kidding you, Seth Rogen. I mean, like, you can play as a Walking Dead character. I just don't really see how that to me does not seem like something that is making your game stronger in the way that you want it to be. Sure, it's adding IPs. Yeah, it's the gimmick of, oh, I can play as Beavis and Butthead. Hey, isn't that cool? I can play as the alien from American Dad. I can play as, in Fortnite, I can play as, the guy from King of the Hill. I can play as Peter Griffin. I can play as Bob from Bob's Burgers. It's like, okay, but like, what about your game though? What does your game have to offer besides who you can play as? Are you adapting your game? Are you innovating your game? Or are you just adding characters that we like in other mediums? That way we can stick around. I'm thinking it's more of that than improving your game. And when you start to keep adding different people, different characters from other IPs in a game, and it just seems to not want to stop and just continue and mounting on the characters week after week after week, and especially in the eyes of like Call of Duty, when you are branded and labeled as a military shooter, and you just begin to lose that with every month that goes by. These silly operators, these silly character additions, silly gun customizations. I mean, hell, for Christ's sake. In the game, you are given tactical grenades and lethal grenades, right? A lethal grenade would be like a Semtex or a frag grenade. Tactical grenade would be like a flashbang, a stun grenade, or a smoke grenade. You can now customize your smoke grenade. Something that you'll never really look at, but you can buy a skin for it if you choose to. That's the beauty of capitalism, right? You're giving them an option. And that option boils down to a choice of if that player wants to purchase that or not. I love capitalism. But at the same time, maybe you should put some of that effort into giving a skin to a smoke grenade and transfer those resources and funds to improving the gameplay or making your next game even better. That's just my idea. But yeah, so far, Battlefield looks legit, looks promising, looks hopeful. I mean, this is being recorded on Wednesday. When this comes out on Thursday is the multiplayer reveal. We can only hope that what we've been seeing from the leaks of the tests that have been commencing throughout the public are legit and good. And from what I've seen with the leaks, and I mean, there's like so many leaks out. It's like it wouldn't even be considered like leaks. They're just putting out content and no one's stopping them whatsoever. It looks really good. It looks very promising. Like this could be the game that could deliver us from evil. Like Battlefield 6, I mean, I love Battlefield, but I'm going to put the pressure on you boys right now. You have a job to do this holiday season because you're coming out in October. You have a job to do. You have a job that is to cleanse the world of the first-person shooter cringe that is Call of Duty right now. You've had in the past, many, many years ago, many times in the past, where your fans and a lot of neutral fans, fans of Battlefield, fans of Call of Duty and Battlefield, neutral fans, you've had a lot of people say throughout the years that you have a chance to kill Call of Duty. And every year, Battlefield 4 had the chance, Battlefield 1 had the chance, Battlefield 5 did not, Battlefield 2042 did. You've had opportunities and chances to kill Call of Duty, to end them, and their reign of the go-to first-person military shooter. You have that chance yet again. Now, Call of Duty has made their move. They will be going with Black Ops 7. And now you have made your move. Battlefield 6. Modern style of warfare. In the way that you only know you can perfect. Call of Duty can't match you. And you have the choice right now. I don't see Call of Duty going back to milsim military shooter. we all want them to do, what a lot of us want them to do. Cut the shit with the silliness, right? You have the choice and you have the opportunity right now to end Call of Duty once and for all. Will you? There's a lot of pressure on you right now, Battlefield. You have a lot of pressure, and you are going up against a horse that is dead. Let's face it, Call of Duty might have the fan base, but right now they are dead. Their game is not performing well at all. I mean, there is a divide between the people who are playing this game. Like, the core fans are done. We as like the people who have been there from day one, who liked what it was, like the research, like the Renaissance with 2019, Modern Warfare 2019, when that came out, we were in it for Black Ops Cold War. MW2 came out, we were in it. MW3 came out, we're like, what's going on? Then Black Ops 6 comes out, we're like, what are we doing here? The silly operator skins, the silly gameplay, just like the lack of care, the lack of innovation, the not wanting to commit to a full-on traditional Warzone game, having it all integrated and crap like that, just becoming a mess. You have a chance right now to kill this dying horse, which is Call of Duty Battlefield. You have the choice right now. The opportunity is wide open. Please, Call of Duty, and please Battlefield, I beg of you, deliver us from evil. Deliver us, please. You're our last hope. Don't fall for the IP skins. Don't fall for the silly, cringe skins of operators. Just stick to what you are, a gritty, realistic, intense military shooter, and we will be there for you. I've seen the comments online. I've seen the videos online. You have a lot of people right now on your side. A lot of people. You have everything going for you right now. Call of Duty's trash. You're looking really good. Your multiplayer reveal is today. The leaks are out. There's tons of videos of a bunch of hours of gameplay on your game out right now. People are really liking it. You do not squander this moment, Battlefield. Do not squander it. Take what you have. Go forward. Keep the intensity. Keep the realism. Keep marketing the grittiness. And we will be there. I promise you, we will be there. As long as you keep that mentality. As long as you keep that vision. Keep the cringe out of your game. Right? Keep the IPs out of your game. Deliver us from evil, because the evil that is at work on Call of Duty side, that is evil. Evil. I can't even look at it. It's almost like offensive to me when I see what Call of Duty is doing and what their game has become. I don't like looking at it. Beavis and Butthead, that kind of killed it. That was like the final nail in the coffin. Like, a lot of people, when that came out, were like looking at it like, nah, I think that's enough. I think that we've seen enough. I think we're done with you now. At least I am. And a lot of people knew, including myself, were like thinking the same thing, like, nah, I think we're done here. We can't continue to, I just don't want to see this anymore. Like, I don't want to have to see this, and I don't want to have to be a part of a game where I might have to see more of this. Like, that can't be something that continues. Like, I'm sorry, but it just can't. So you have a choice, Battlefield. You have the biggest and the most like solid opportunity right now to kill Call of Duty once and for all. Do not squander it, and deliver us from evil. Amen. And that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.